Welcome back to What Happens Next, the podcast dedicated to having deeper conversations around some of the challenges we face when we're in our 50s and 60s and thinking about what happens next in our lives. I'm your host, Chris Ames, and I've spent a couple of decades helping people navigate what happens next financially, because my job as a chartered financial planner is to help people work out how much is enough financially, help them work out where they are on that journey, and if they're there, help them transition to whatever's next. But if they're not, build a robust plan so that we can get them there. But a couple of years ago, in a conversation with a client, I realised that having the money bit done doesn't always mean that you're particularly well prepared for either retirement or what happens next. And this is why this show not only talks about money, but also talks about some of the other important factors in our lives, which we need to think about when we're thinking about what happens next, so that we can plan and prepare for that successful retirement or whatever's next in our lives in a way that works for you. And my mission is to help you and people like you as much as possible navigate that next stage. This week, we've got a conversation about community. And what I want to do is share my insights in why getting actively involved in your community can increase your sense of bliss. So without further ado, on with the show. Part of the issue we've got when we're thinking about what happens next in our lives is having the self-awareness, having the introspection to be able to think about what the gaps in our well-being are. And we're doing loads of work at the minute with what happens next to build solutions that are going to help you think about well-being in a nuanced way when you're thinking about how it applies to your life. One of the first things we've built that you can use today is our What Happens Next quiz. It's free to do, takes about 5 minutes, but what it will do is give you an insight into the areas of strengths when it comes to your well-being and the areas you might want to improve. You can take the What Happens Next quiz at whathappensnext.life/quiz, and I hope it helps you in your journey to work out what happens next for you. Hello and welcome to the What Happens Next channel. I'm Chris, and in this channel, what we do is hopefully provide insights into areas of your life you want to think about if you're at a crossroads and you're thinking about what happens next. Now, who am I to provide that insight? My name's Chris. I'm a chartered financial planner, and I help a lot of people, typically in their 50s and 60s, when they're thinking about what happens next, answer the financial question of how much is enough. So clients typically come to me, they want to make positive change in their life, and they're thinking about the financial element of that change and how they get to a point where they want to do it. And what we do is use our skills, expertise, knowledge built up over a couple of decades of helping clients to support them on that journey. However, what tends to happen when we helping people on that journey is we have conversations that are way beyond the money. They're typically conversations about life and not money. And what I appreciated when we started sort of thinking about doing the What Happens Next channel is it's really important to think about the aspects beyond money if we're thinking about making a fundamental change in their life, whatever you call it. You might call it retirement. Other people call it the next chapter. Doesn't really matter. But what we want to do is inform, educate and guide as you make that transition. Now, how are we doing that? We're doing that by interviewing loads of different experts on different subjects of well-being, people who have gone through the experience of stopping their main career or selling their business after decades and sharing their stories of what happens next, but also sharing insights from me and the work we do with clients, but also experiences from my own life. And today is a story about community well-being, happiness and a sense of bliss, and why on a cold winter's evening, dragging my kids out to help me in the community was a great thing for my own happiness. Now, if that sounds like your bag, or if you're at that crossroads in your life and you want to make sure that you're getting up-to-date information on the things that we're doing on the What Happens Next channel, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel massively. And we're on a mission over the next few years to make sure that we are sharing insights as consistently as we can to help you think about what happens next in your life. So, on to the story. My two daughters now, as I record this video, are 20 and 12. But these happened a couple of years ago. So Charlotte actually was 17 and Sophie was 19. And to be frank, they were annoyed with me and I couldn't blame them because I dragged them out. I think it was like December the 18th. I dragged them out and said, right, you're coming to wander the streets of Hornchurch in Essex, which is where I used to live. I now live a little bit close to the sea, but Hornchurch in Essex, and wear high visibility jackets with a collecting tin and to raise money for some charity. And particularly the youngest, Sophie said, oh, Dad, have I got to? I was like, come on. And they came out with me. Now, that's something I do every year. I go out for a few days every year and help friends of mine wander around the streets of Hornchurch, collecting both money and food. We collect bags and bags of food for food banks, which is one of those things that when I think about it, is grown in prominence in the UK over the last few years, sadly. So at the minute, I'm spending a lot of time writing the What Happens Next book. I'm 50,000 words in as I speak to you today, and currently working to make sure that the book adds as much value as we can to people thinking about that next stage in their lives. Now, the book's not ready yet. It won't be out until sometime in 2025. I'm working hard to get it finished. But what you can do is sign up for the book waiting list, so you're one of the first people that gets access. You can simply do that by visiting whathappensnext.life/book. Join the waiting list today, and you'll be one of the first persons to get access to the book and some extra goodies when it comes out. But we want to do what we can to help out. And yeah, certainly. So we raise money, we collect food. We do it with a large sleigh, which is on wheels with a Santa attached to a Land Rover that we take around the streets of Hornchurch. And I always drag the kids out. Now, you might question why I do this every year and why I drag my daughters in particular with me reluctantly. And as you know, if you've watched a few of these videos on this channel, we talk a lot about chaironic happiness and that sense of awe and bliss that you get from being involved in community and enhancing your community well-being. And when I look at this, I don't know if I knew it consciously at the time, but certainly my recent conversations with John Dunkley, the interviews on the YouTube channel, certainly we'll put a link in the notes to that specific video, have really highlighted the fact that doing community work gives you a sense of happiness beyond hedonistic happiness, just having fun, beyond eudaimonic happiness, having a sense of purpose and doing good work. Chaironic happiness is having that sense of awe and sense of bliss. Now, you might be questioning, well, how does wandering around the streets of Hornchurch give you that chaironic happiness? And there's a couple of things that are worth mentioning when it comes to that. Number one, I love seeing the look on the kids' faces as Santa comes around the corner, particularly the younger kids. And it's not only the kids. We've had, I remember knocking on a particular door in my high visibility jacket, a lady in her late 80s coming out to answer to tell me, is Santa coming? I've been really looking forward to this. So it's not only kids, it's the young at heart as well, which I love. But in particular, seeing those kids have that sense of awe and that sense of wonder when Santa comes around the corner, I just love to see it. It really gives me faith in humanity at a period of time when there's a lot of negative news on the thing, as I recall, on the news as I record this, but certainly looking at that and seeing how good and just like sort of excited the kids can be is brilliant. So that gives me a massive sense of awe. The other thing that gives me a sense of awe is how generous people can be. So, as I say, we raise both money and collect food for people who need it when we go around the streets of Vaughan Church. And certainly one of the things that I love is just seeing people be the best they can be in terms of generosity. I believe that people given the chance are generally really good. But when you see that in action, that is an amazing thing. I absolutely love it. And it's certainly one of the reasons that I love going out and about every single year, helping do this. Now, it's funny because the kids at the start, when I dragged them out, I mean, particularly the youngest one said, "Oh, Dad, have I got to go?" And I said, "Look, come along, see if you enjoy it. And see if you want to carry on." And then about 15 minutes in, I've got them both come into me and say, "Oh, I just collected this from this person. Brilliant." And they really got into it. So it's interesting. Charlotte and Sophie, although they're reluctant at the start and express a decent bit of dissatisfaction when they join me to traipse the streets of Vaughan Church, always seem to get into it about 10 minutes in. And I believe that thinking about community wellbeing, thinking about the work you can do in your communities, means that the community wins, but also you win, because what you get is that sense of charonic happiness, the sense of doing something good in your community, but also seeing and having a viewpoint on the best people can be. Hopefully that's useful, and I'd love to know in the comments how you boost your share. I don't know how to say it, actually. It's either charonic or sharonic happiness. Let us know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We want to do more videos like this, sharing not only the good news about the world, but also tips about how you can improve your well-being if you're thinking about what happens next. If you've enjoyed this and you're looking for more from What Happens Next, there's one place you can find everything. Simply visit whathappensnext.life for all of the interviews we've done so far, the opportunity to take the quiz, the opportunity to sign up for the waiting list for the book, and much, much more. So hopefully that gave you a real insight into why community is so important in our lives. Hopefully that was useful, but I'd love to know, and please feel free to get in touch. Tell us what you do in your community that gives you that sense of bliss. Love to hear from you. See you next week on What Happens Next.